I'm Helen McKenzie and I'm from Art Collector magazine and we're at the Melbourne Art Fair. Our guest today is Phillip Wolfhagen and he's got a major show here with the Vet Gallery. And I'd like to say welcome, Phillip.
Thank you very much, Helen.
Nice to get you over from Tassie.
Well, it's not very far.
It's not very far.
No.
But away from your hectic schedule,
yes.
Working 6 days a week.
Yes.
And you tell me you're on an 8-month cycle. That's generally how you prepare for a show?
Yes, I think that's the amount of time you need to experiment with new ideas and, have time to refine them and bring them to completion. Yeah.
It's extraordinary that you're up to, since 1990, you've had 36 solo shows, we think.
That's we guessed, yes.
We guessed
yeah.
that. And right now on tour at the Tweed, you've got a survey show.
That's
you said it's not greatest hits as such.
No, it's just an account of the last 25 years, and there are certain gaps where perhaps the work was going in a direction that wasn't leading to where I am now, so we've ignored those years.
Right.
But so Tweed River Gallery is its 5th venue, so it's already been from Newcastle to Hobart, Drill Hall in Canberra, and then Cairns Regional Art Gallery, and now Tweed River, and then Hamilton in November.
Oh, fantastic. How do you feel about having a survey show?
It's been very confronting. To have it, yeah, and it's timed with my 50th birthday.
Yes.
So it's a kind of a period of re-evaluation, I suppose, not only personally but professionally, and yeah.
So you've gone, you're an established artist now, and that is your title. That's what you'd say.
Well, I don't know.
And being 50 and not a red sports car.
No. I won't tell you what I bought.
Oh, go on.
No.
You've got works in all the major collections in Australia, and your work is hard for collectors to nab too. It's virtually as soon as you produce it, it disappears.
Well, I've been fortunate that has been the case, for a lot of the last 20 odd years. I think the market is a little less vibrant at the moment, so works tend to stay in stock for a little bit longer. But no, I've had a blessed run, really. Yeah. And
you've also been in, I think, 11 win prizes, or is it 9?
Is that many? Okay. Well, I did submit works when I lived in Sydney in the 90s, and always got knocked back. I always got into the salon at the S.H. Irving Gallery.
Yeah.
But then I applied again in 2008 and won it the first time. And so I've been in it every year since.
The work that's in this year's win, is it from this collection that you have here?
Yes, it's number 17 out of the cycle of 27 odd paintings I've executed for the art fair.
Yes, and they've entitled them Landscapes Revisited?
Landscape Reinventions.
Reinventions. Now, what does that mean?
Well, it really all started with reading Eugène Delacroix's journal, and he describes the little world that men carry around in their heads. And so wherever they go and whatever they see, it's kind of as if it's already inside them. There's an echo. And I began to think about the landscape I have inside me.
Yep.
And I decided to just work and reinvent that, and then focus more on the process of painting than what's being represented. I mean, it's often said that it's more important how a thing is represented than what is represented.
Right.
And I suppose I've just wanted to heighten the mark making and the inventiveness of the painting, rather than what is being, what landscape it is. So it's not important.
So your process in the past has been to photograph landscapes and then take them back to the studio with you.
Yes.
And then rethink them in your way. Did you take photographs for this section?
Series? Yes. The photographs I took probably 15 years ago, and I've just had them on the studio wall for all those years, and thinking, I just can't think how to approach this because it's there's such an abstract composition.
Yeah.
It's really hardly a landscape at all.
Yes.
And it's just, I just came to this point where I was ready to tackle it. And so this is the result.
Yes. And your education was in printmaking.
That's right.
Started with that.
Undergraduate
as an
printmaking.
undergraduate, and then postgraduate
In painting.
in painting. And you felt the need to move from Sydney back to Tasmania.
Yes.
And the pull of the landscape is very strong for you. Personal landscape.
It's hard to separate landscape from family
Yes.
as well, and just a sense of belonging. I just, the other thing, of course, is the economic reasons for moving back to Tasmania. We bought our house for $60,000. I mean, in Sydney we couldn't even borrow $60,000
No.
because we were both working,
In the arts.
part-time, in the arts. So it was very difficult. So it was a bit of a leap of faith, but we knew we had to go back.
Yes. But you said you could not paint landscapes that had no meaning, or you don't want to tackle landscapes that are meaningless to you.
No, I'm not a tourist painter in the sense that, I don't need to go to the Flinders Ranges and interpret that. The landscape's more internal.
Yes.
And it's more about connecting with the natural world and also connecting with the history of art. I mean, the great thing about standing in front of a great painting is feeling connected culturally.
Yes.
And it's sort of those things are interwoven for me. It's connecting with the place I grew up, the light, but also the history of representation of landscape.
Yeah. Yes.
And I guess that's a very ostensibly a romantic position, but I think that we haven't really changed a great deal since the Romantic period at the beginning of the 19th century. I still think we look at art very much along romantic lines.
Yes. Well, your works are extremely evocative. All of them are. The hugeness of the heavens and the smallness of the earth, and the series where you picked up light from isolated farmhouses.
Yes.
Most people could identify with that, and also feel the elements, the weather elements in your work.
Yes, I think the elements, the elemental nature of our experience of nature is what's most important. And painting's about refining in a way. I mean, you can't help but talk about alchemy and the way the alchemists wish to heighten substances, and I see painting as being a process of alchemy in that way, that you're really sifting through a lot of shit to come to something, jewel-like and that seems to have its own reason for being, that it always had to come into being. I guess that's what, for me, denotes a work that's successful and finished, is when I feel that about it.
That's fantastic. There's someone a lot cleverer than me said that your work is described as a tension between real and imagined.
Yes, so that's the real, or I guess the cusp of abstraction is what is the exciting thing, is when, a mark verges on just, becoming nothing, but then it represents so much. It's all about, illusion rather than illusion.
How do you feel when you see your latest series lined up in the Bett Gallery at MAF? What does that?
I'm still working that one out. I felt a little bit anxious about doing the opposite to what you would expect an artist to do when they have a solo show at the art fair and paint great big canvases and just fill this sort of the booth with big paintings. I decided to go the opposite and just go to a very refined frieze of very small, intimate paintings, really. And so I think it's successful. I mean, art fairs are pretty intense, and sometimes when you walk into some booths, there's just too much difference and jarring. And I hope when people walk into the Bett Gallery space, there's kind of a sense of relief that there's a unity and a homogeneity to the exhibition.
Yes, and do you, once you've done a series like this one, do you then put a full stop?
Oh no! There's never full stops anywhere.
Never full stops.
No. I have other panels unfinished in the studio. I mean, on Monday morning I'll be back in there and just carry on the journey, you know. And that's hopefully, you know, that's what comes out of, you know, the viewer's experience of my work in this exhibition is just the sort of the immediacy of paint and the power of painting as a language. You know, those are the things that I've tried to, you know, bring to the work to heighten the sense of the immediacy of the medium.
That's great. Thank you, Phillip. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Helen.